first program I want you to write is very simple. I want you to press the left-hand button on your microcomputer board and both lights come on, and I want you then to press it again and then both lights go off. I've got something very similar on this one where I press the one on the right, both lights come on, both LEDs come on, press it again, they both go off. How's that going to be done? Well, let's just quickly remind ourselves of the button we're going to use. We're going to use G3 here, yeah? And the LED is going to be G2 and G4. You can just see them. So we're looking for G3. Just going to jot that down. All right, so over we go to the program. And the program will be something like this. It will be on. So make sure everything is on. And then we're going to be asking the question, has the switch G3 been pressed? If it has been pressed, we're asking the program to continue. If it hasn't been pressed, we would just circle around in the flowchart. So we would have an arrow going back to the beginning again. Okay, if G3 has been pressed, then we're going to look to illuminate G4 and G2. Once that's been pressed, we're going to ask the question, has that switch G3 been pressed again? If it has been pressed again, we're going to turn both the LEDs off, G4 and G2. And once we've done that, we're going to go back to the start. So let's look at Circuit Wizard and how can we do that on here. I'm going to go to a new document. Remember, always go to the one with the flowchart on it. And I'm going to go to my program. Actually, sorry, my gallery. And then down the bottom here, I want to go to flowchart. I've got this really small so you can see both at the same time, so you can try and cross-reference what's going on. Okay, on is the same as start. Okay, every flowchart has to have the command start at the beginning. Indeed, you can. This is the name of the flowchart. So if I wanted to, I could double click on that and I could change that to something else, like 1 for example. And then I can reference that flowchart later. Right, we're asking the question, has G3 been pressed? So double click on here and we're going to go to these two inputs, G1 and G3. If it's a 0, if it's red, that means it hasn't been pressed, that means it's low. If it's a 1, that means it has been pressed and it's high. So for this, I want it as a 1. I'm asking, is G3 high? Has it been pressed? If it has been pressed, I want to illuminate both those different outputs. And so I go to the outputs, I drag it in. You can see it automatically says, yes, G3 has been pressed. And if it has been pressed, what I can do is click on those outputs and say they're high, and that will light both those LEDs up. Once you've done that, just put a timing command in. A timing command just makes sure that it doesn't get too confused. If everything's too fast, if every command is happening instantaneously, it gets a little bit confused sometimes. So a quarter of a second, a half second timing command is really useful. Right, so what do we have? We've illuminated here both G2 and G4. Okay, so let's move down to the next command. Right, I want to make sure that we're not just holding our finger on the button, but we're pressing it once and then we're removing our finger from the button. So my next command is going to be, is G3 low? Not high, low. So we've pressed it down once and it's gone high, and now I'm asking if it's low. That's going to be my next command. Is it off? And if it is off, we're going to go down to the next command, because we've got this, haven't we? Has G3 been pressed again? So for the second time, I'm asking, has G3 been pressed? This will be the second time it goes high. So I double click on here and I go to a 1. So just go through that again from the beginning. is G3 on? Is it high? Is it being pressed? If it is being pressed, we turn the LEDs on. And then we're asking, is G3 off? Has the person taken their finger off of the switch? If they have, then we can ask, is G3 on? Have they put their finger back on the switch? If they've put their finger back on the switch, what we can do is turn off LED G4, G2. So back to the outputs, and we turn those to 0, and that's low. Right, when we do that, again, let's put a wait command in. This time, put it in for about a second. Otherwise, it will go right back round to the beginning again. If you have a second pause, you'll be able to take your finger off of that button. Okay, so we've got a wait command in there. And after that, we're going to go back round to the start. Each one of these is a question. So where you get a yes, you also get a no. So what I'm going to do is pull from the corner of that command an arrow, and now you can see that the no just goes round to the beginning of that stage in the flow chart. And we do it again here, and we do it again here. Now we could, if we wanted to, just end the flow chart here, but what I would like is to turn the flashlight on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it on. So I'm going to go right round to the beginning. I can make sure this works just by pressing this little icon up here, and if it's simulating, it means that this program should work. So let's have a look at downloading this or uploading this onto our board. I'm going to go back to, I'm just going to cancel that. I'm going to bring my board over here. But first, I need to connect it to both the power and also my Genie plug and play cable. Is there enough room? Yeah, you can see they're both connected. You can see I'm connected up here, and so I'm going to run live. Reading, downloading the program. So now, hopefully what should happen is when I press the button on the left, the lights should come on. Oh, they do. And now hopefully when I press it again, they go off. Yes. So that's a really simple program to turn the lights on and off.